welcome to Vlogtober day 31. It's Wednesday. Yeah, today is Wednesday at almost midday, and I've been up for a few hours. I woke up, at around, I woke up at like 9:30, and then I had some cereal, and I did a Bible study, and I prayed, and I scrolled on TikTok a little bit. But I wanted to, this is effectively the last day of October. I wanted to end October sharing how I came to Christ. I felt like it was important for me to do that in this month because October is a special month, even though, as I mentioned in some of the previous vlogs, this month had, some not so good parts, some not so good implications for my entire Christian journey. I was able to regroup and reset with obviously the Lord's help. And this month, it doesn't take away from the fact that this month is an important month. This month, 2 years ago, I started to seek the Lord. I was going through my old journals yesterday, trying to pinpoint where exactly like the shift began. I wasn't able to. I did see some journal entries, like some letters that I wrote to God as early as September, some from August, but I've always had it that October was really the month of turnaround, for lack of a better term. So I wanted to, for the first time, share the entirety of my testimony, share the entirety of the details and the circumstances surrounding how I came to Christ, why I came to Christ, all of the things that were happening. I've never shared that for several reasons. For one, I felt like some of it sounds wonky, some of it sounds crazy, some of it sounds unbelievable. Even I know that. And if I wasn't the person to experience it, I probably wouldn't believe it either. You understand me? So, but I did want, like I told myself, that my last Vlogtober video is going to be sharing my testimony, sharing the beginning of my Christianity, and I'm gonna do that in this video, so enjoy. I should be also dyeing my hair today and some other stuff. This video originally was supposed to have two parts, and the other part would have been a more vlog, like more of a vlog with more, like me going out, getting stuff. I really wanted to celebrate this month, but time and other things didn't allow, and so this is what Vlogtober Day 31 is going to be. And I am going to film a bonus video for you guys, just talking about what to expect after Vlogtober. I may film that video today also, since, as I mentioned, I am pretty sure I'm going to be dyeing my hair today and getting it all back pink. So anyway, how did I come to Christ? I want to preface this video by saying, even in my Christianity, I've done many things wrong. I've revisited my old life a few times. I've made many mistakes. I've said the wrong things, sometimes said things at the wrong times, sometimes said things in the wrong spirit. And so this journey has been marked by error and a lot of resetting, a lot of regrouping, a lot of restarting. I am by no means, by no stretch of the imagination, any kind of perfect Christian, but I do believe that I have been changed in a very meaningful way and continue to be changed in a very meaningful way since I've come to Christ. And I want to share this hopefully so that it will encourage the hearts of believers and unbelievers alike. I'm not the best apologist there is, but I do happen to know that Jesus Christ is Lord. First, let me give you guys some context, a little bit of backstory. So when I was a child, my dad is not a religious person to this day. My mom is a little bit more so. Since I was a child, I didn't have much of any Christian influences. I will say this, my mom used to always make me go to church when I was young, when I was in primary school. There was a church that was near to where I used to live for that period as a child, and I never would want to go there. The lady that was in charge of the church, I was afraid of her, and she would always say, "Oh, you don't have to be afraid." Like, I never wanted to go, and I was so afraid of the lady and so discomfited by the entire environment that the only time I went was when I was forced to. And in my adult life, I understand, obviously by revelation of the Holy Spirit, that I was justified in those feelings of fear and discomfort, but not too much on that. That was my exposure to Christianity, as they knew it. In any case, my grandma also, as I was, when I was a preteen, my grandma came to Christ, and so she is the major Christian influence that I have had even now. She had a church that I would go to sometimes, much more comfortable there. At that time, I was also older. So I want to believe that some of the Christian principles were making sense to my young brain and sticking. Of course, also, I moved around a lot as a child. I lived in a lot of places. I lived in Denham Town before. I don't remember where exactly, but I lived somewhere off like Spanish Town in that area. I lived in Uenden before. I lived in Winnie Park before. I've lived in quite a few places. Some places I can't remember. Lived in what's that place called? Maxfield before. I've lived quite a few places. And I do remember my mom, I think it was Maxfield I was living at the time. My mom had a church there. That was a church that I really, really liked. And I do believe that at that time I was old enough to really understand, some of the fundamental elements of Christianity. I remember I would really enjoy the worship and things of that sort. But we soon moved from that house, and then I went to high school, I entered my teen year. If there's any Christian foundation that was laid, I definitely departed from it in my teenage years. In my teenage years, some people believe that going to an all-girls school makes you gay. I don't really think so. I think that anyone who becomes gay when they go to an all-girls school was already kind of predisposed to be gay. And I'm not going to talk too much about that because I don't really, it's not really relevant to this video. But I do feel like there are some factors that make young people especially feel like they want to explore same-sex attraction. But as I said, that's not the hill that I want to die on today. I'm just delivering some of the background facts. So when I was a teenager, I started exploring same-sex attraction and same-sex relationships, and I started, being involved in sexual relationships. I was exposed to drugs and I was exposed to weed. I started smoking, I started drinking, and at the time of my exposure, I was pretty young, and it sort of became a crutch for me. So as I became older, still a teenager, but older, 14, 15, 16, I became dependent on those things. I remember at some points I was really, really big on marijuana. I graduated high school in Kingston when I was 17. By that time, I was just as bad as any teen can be. Sex, boys, girls, drugs, just the whole 9 yards. And so when I graduated high school, I will say this also, that somewhere between my primary school years and my high school years, I kind of became estranged from my mother. I remember during that time I was really rebellious, really wanting to do what I wanted to do. And I really did a techno talk. And obviously for that reason, I had, other adult figures and other authority figures who were much more lenient than my mom was, who were giving me free reign to do just about anything that I wanted, even though I was still a child. And so obviously I became opposed to my mother because she always wanted there to be rules and structure. She always wanted to kind of limit what I ought to do, which is what she's supposed to do. I mean, I was at every party doing just about anything. I was really deceptive. I would be like in one parish and say I would get my friends to pretend that I was at their house when literally they hand over, bro. Worst thing that a teen could do, I was doing all of it. So I graduate high school. By the time I graduated high school, I'm really estranged from my mother. Me and my mother were super close when I was young, but as I grew up and got a taste of just all the things that the world had to offer, I became distant from her and became more favorably disposed to people who would let me do what I wanted to do at all times. So I graduate high school and I leave from Kingston. Mind you, in all the time that I am in high school, it's very unstable. At some points I'm staying in Kingston, at other points I'm staying in Ocho Rios. At one point I'm going in between because there was a person that I was living with in Ocho Rios, so I would go from her house to another person's house in Kingston who was involved with my parent, and I would just go between. There was another point where I was living with a person who was involved with my parent in Kingston for some time. There was a lot of different moving around, a lot of traveling, a lot of up and down. But when I finally graduated high school, I started living in Ocho Rios by myself. At this point, I was 17. So I would have my parent, come and go because that was ultimately my parents' house. But that time, my parent didn't spend much time in Jamaica. So whenever he was away, which was most times at that time, I would be in at home alone. And as I say, I love everything were bad. Like at that point, I was doing everything wrong. So now having a space where there's literally no adult to govern or guide any of my actions, everything that I was doing, I started doing it more. I also lied and finessed and got a job. Cause I don't know if it's legal for working in Jamaica when you're 17, but at the time made up a story because I used to be really, really good at making up stories. And I told them that I couldn't provide the documents and so on. I got a job. It was pretty good money for the time that it was and for the age that it was. That job was in food service. My very first job was in food service. I always feel like food service is kind of like my passion. I don't know how that will come in the future, but I was really, really happy. As happy as you can be when you're living outside of Christ. So I was doing that job. I was making a lot of money, smoking a lot. Like I would smoke before work, at work, and after work. I had this series on TikTok where I was talking about all the times when God saved my life. And I can't spend too much time on that or else this video will be way too long. But one time I remember I came home and I smoked and fell asleep while I was cooking. And when I woke up, like there was so much smoke, but there was no fire. I remember another time I was smoking before work and then my dash with the spliff. And when I come back, like the bin that I put the spliff in caught fire. But if the fire out somehow, like the fire didn't spread to anywhere else. And I had a best friend at that time who I showed a photo of how I was cooking mutton and the mutton literally became like coals in the pot or like the bin. At that time, I had a lot of photos, but over the years, a lot of things have been lost because especially for the purposes of these videos, I would prefer to like have the things to actually show, like, you know what I'm saying? But I've graduated from high school. I got a job in food service. I'm making pretty good money, smoking, drinking, having just as much sex as I can, just doing everything that I wanted to do. There was no limit to what Kaitana was doing. Kaitana was just doing everything she wanted to do. And then there was a little bit of trouble in paradise. So I end up having like really intense disagreement with my parent. At the time, by the way, all the time that I was making all of that money, like making this, it was the most money I've ever had, you know, that I made by myself. So it was in US because where I used to work in Ocho Rios, it was like a pretty popular spot for tourists, and I was serving. I would be making like pretty good tips. Like at that point, my tip was more than what I was getting paid. Like my tips were really good. So I was making my money, but my parent was taking care of the house, like paying rent, like Wi-Fi. Like he would give me money to pay the rent and everything. So while I'm making money, I was living for free until that stopped. The timeline for this was around my 18th birthday. So that whole year, I was just doing everything. When I turned 18, I always say I had a false sense of security because I felt that like I would continue to be taken care of regardless. Not so. So 18, there was a minor disagreement that I had with the person who was supervising me at the time at the job. I'm like, "Cho, I quit, bro. I quit right there. I just quit." And I shouldn't have done that, but I did. Because I thought that everything would be fine. I thought that I would still be taken care of and everything. By that time, as I said, somebody just celebrate my 18th birthday. Somebody blew all of my money. Like, I did spend money on Zara bags, Zara slippers, put on wig, nails, go out, like all these things. I blew a lot of money. And after the birthday was when stuff hit the fan with my parent. And so I don't spend money, I quit my job, I upset the person who take care of me. They put my one, bro. So at that point, no, I didn't have a job. I kind of was looking for another job, but I can't say somebody to really, really, truly understand the seriousness of the situation because all along, as I say, my thing say me I gonna be taken care of, but it never did work out that way. It didn't work out that way because now me I did 18. I'm kind of did have to start getting out of the mud. So this was really bad now because I like the house that I was in. No, the light went off, the Wi-Fi got off, bro. Rent didn't want to pay. And there was like at some points, not for most of the time, but at some points there was another woman that was involved with my parents, and it was said that if that woman was not in the place, then everything would just go off. Like I had upset my parents to such a point that he basically say you depend your own, bro. So this wasn't good for me because honestly he was within his right to do so because normally me at the adult age. Me at the adult age, bro. So it just is what it is. Now I have a problem. Because I have money, I have work, I dey in a house, I have no money for pay all of them things. Yeah, as I say, Wi-Fi off, rent overdue, all that type of stuff. I don't have no work. So it happened. I didn't spend long in that place of like desolation because it happened that I was able to come to America. My mom made it possible for me to come to America. Mind you, me and my mom were estranged because since I became a teenager and wanted to do what I wanted to do, I basically put my mother up on the back burner, bro. You know, I make my party, you know, I make my vibe out, bro. So you just stay round our back and we will talk to you later, type deal. So I was talking to my mom, real beef me have with my mother, bro. Yet still, he made it possible for me to come to America. And so I kind of escape the situation there. Now, let me say this. A lot of the intervention that God did in my situation, I was not aware of it. I became aware of it by revelation and in retrospect. That is to say, the Holy Spirit showed me how he was working in my situation after the fact. I was not a spiritual person, bro. Even while I was addicted to drugs and whatever the case may be, I had encounters. One day I was so high, and I remember every time I get high mood, I get paranoid. But one day I was so high, and I literally say, and it sounds crazy, bro. That's why I never yet said this before, because it sounds crazy. But I was so high, and then like the curtain in my room just start float. Literally just start float up in the air. Are the only way I can describe it. And I remember because the way how my room was set up, it was like my room there so, and my bathroom there so, and then I have one kitchen yeah so. But I never do not with the kitchen, but they kind of just use it as storage because my next kitchen in my house. So I have my room and then two other room, bathroom and kitchen, and there were windows. So me I go in at the kitchen where the window there, and but the window did lock, bro. So me I say which part of the wind I come from where I make the curtain float up in the air. You get what me I say like what's going on? So I keep on I look like me I look under the curtain, and nothing was there. The curtain was just floating, and then I think it was this same night or another night. I got out in the living room and I saw a really tall man walking through my house. I never see the front of him, I just see the back of him. But he was really tall. I knew he was a human being. Plus my house did like, I knew it was some kind of spiritual being. To this day, I can't say if it was an angel or if it was a demon. All I can say is I saw a really tall man. He was wearing like dress pants, like a short sleeve, like a long shirt, like a dress shirt, but short sleeve, and he was wearing a hat. And I just saw that really tall man walking through my house. What he was there to do, as I say, I can't say. I wasn't a spiritual person. All those things that were happening, I never understand them. In any case, I come to America when I 18, May of 2023. When I came to America, as I said, I don't spend after all of my money, bro. You know, you're young, you want bruv, you want to do this, you want to do that. And plus, smoking weed is a really expensive habit. So I kind of don't do all of my money. I do everything and spend up my money and blah, blah, blah. So I come to America. At this point, I'm still not saved. So I'm just giving you years of context. I'm still not saved by this point. Also, I always would have find myself, just as a sidebar, I always would find myself with like really bad guys. Like I always would have find myself like in these certain cycles, like with guys who like sometime we're on, sometime we're off, sometime we're on, sometime we're off, sometime we're on, sometime we're off. I also, because this is important, the last guy when I date, because we never did, but the last guy where I did involved with before I left Jamaica, he was seriously the worst guy I've ever met, but he was so charming at the same time. Like I don't know what it was, but I met him out at a party. I was with some girl dancing, and he was just staring at me from across the room, and I just love him from that day, bro. Like I'm not kidding. I never experienced that before. Like I just see somebody and them just see me, and that's it. It just clicked. Me and him from that night when we meet, we involve all the time, all of the weeks and all of the months later. But at the same time, him used to like fight me and them something there. And so it was best and worst thing that ever happened to me. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like, I never feel so passionate about any relationship or whatever before, but at the same time, I've never been more in danger. The man tell me before, say him will kill me, and it not gonna do him nothing, because this was the day when he fought me for my phone. So I'm gonna go Kingston, and when I come back, him fight me and say, when I go Kingston, go do da da da, and him they want to see on my phone. But true, me now say something on my phone when I want him say me fighting back for the phone, bro. You can't go in at the phone, bro. So after that, like after the whole ordeal of him, like how he handled me trying to get to my phone, I felt a little way. Like I was like, no, must say you don't afraid for hurt me, bro. And he was like, I can kill you and it would have done me nothing. And I was like, okay, problem solved. When I left Jamaica, I, obviously we did on two separate countries, so I stopped involvement with that guy. But all of that for sure to say, everything did really like off the chains. Like my romantic relationships off the chains, my behavior off the chains, just everything was completely off the chain. Okay, so I'm in America now. Me have to put in for a whole heap of paper, work permit, social security, this, that, and it's costing a lot of money. So my mother go and put it through for me because I not work, because I can't work till I get the paper then when me put in for. In all of this, I'm feeling really depressed because, you come to America, all you have is the person that brought you, like all of your friends and everything that you're used to. It's not like you don't have it anymore. Like, I just feel sad and empty. And like everything that I know is gone. I will say this, there was a girl that I was dating, and when I first came to America, me and her started talking again. And that was like the only thing that was familiar to me. Because even with her, it was on and off. Like, she was the girl that I would be within another parish until my mother said me half a tree, bro. Anyway, so me and her were talking a little bit when I came to America, and then it ended again, like for the final time, because I haven't spoken to her since that time in 2023. 2 months passed by. But literally, that was every single day. I can't go nowhere because I now work. My mother, I work and I take care of the house and my expenses for put it for file for social and all of that. So it's not like we cannot do all this one bag of stuff. You get what I'm saying? Because she a hold on the whole same way. And plus my little sister is there. So basically all of the expenses she have to take care of them. So me just have to go and relax in the house. This was at this time, and I was into this stuff from Jamaica. Like me used to be super into like manifesting. So would I like write these scripts and say, oh, like my life is so luxurious, and like if more somebody love me, for example, like the guy from Jamaica, he was so mean to me, but we know him love me. So I write in a book say, oh, like X man, such man love me, and this and that. Like I was super into that stuff, you know, like which is literally just faith but perverted. You understand me? Like manifestation is literally having faith and calling those things which are not as though they were, but in a demonic and satanic way. So anyway, I'm really super into that type of stuff. Come on, just there try find meaning. So every day me I manifest, me I we like in a new moon, me I write my new moon intentions and all of this will go no, this moon me I go this and this and this and this and this and this. But all of this is in the absence of God. You get what I'm saying? Like this and me, I try be in control and be God over my own life. So a few months pass by in the same state. But the price come, can't do nothing, man, money, me I wait for the paper them for me can work and everything like that, and I just feel sad and alone, and the months pass by like that. Then, as I said, it's unclear based on my journals, but August comes around, September comes around, and October comes around, and then I start feeling like the Lord is talking to me, and I don't know what to make of it. Like I start having thoughts like the Lord is calling me. I can't remember them exactly, but one thing I can remember is I heard the Lord say to me one day that I needed to change my life. I was like, what? I mean of this now? Like change my life like how? So I kept thinking about God. Like all of a sudden, all I could think about, mind you, with the whole manifestation thing, I would think over and over in my brain, oh, such man love me. Oh, such man love me. Oh, money, money, money. Like me I find money, me I get money. Oh, like manifest, manifest, manifest. Intention, intention, intention. Like, and then all of a sudden, all that's in my head is about Jesus, about living for Jesus, about giving my life to Jesus. Roll. So I'm like, what? I'm knee deep into all of this satanic, kind of know the whole manifestation and crystals and all of that. All of it is witchcraft. So I'm like, how am I gonna make like that's such a huge, you know, that's such a huge thing. How am I gonna do that? So this is what I start telling myself. I start telling myself that I'm having religious OCD, because that is the term that they give it when them don't want to turn Christian and them don't want, so them just say, bro, it's a mental illness and we have religious trauma and OCD. Cool. So I'm gonna tell myself say I'm religious OCD. So I'm gonna tell myself say I just want mental illness, and that's what I tell myself to ignore it, but it persists. And my interest and my I start feeling, I start feel like this is something I need to do. And so I start do some research. Like I remember I started writing in my journal, and give me 1 second because I'm going to read you guys one of my earliest journal entries to the Lord. This is one of my old journals because I keep my journals, and I'm reading something from September. I wrote, "Dear God, I need your help. I need your help to learn true forgiveness. I need your help to forgive X person for all the hurt they caused me, and to help X person to forgive me from the same. In my heart, this pains me as much as it pains X person when I lash out at X person. So I need you to help me to learn to forgive others the way you forgive us." That's I just want excerpt. I want to go back earlier. September 24th at 11:07 p.m. I wrote, "Dear God, I am feeling a little lost. I am feeling far from you. I want you to take my attention away from the things of this world. Show me how to nurture my spirit and get close to you." So look though, this is 18th of August. I wrote, "I've been doing a lot of reflecting. I've been looking at the ways I've been behaving and the objectives I've been trying to reach. A few days ago, I asked my spirit guides to reveal to me what my actual purpose is on earth and what it is that will bring me the greatest sense of purpose in this life." Spirit guides and demons are the same thing. So I'm trying to show you guys that I was really, really deep in the whole mystical, spirit guide, divine feminine, that whole thing that's literally just witchcraft. So super into the universe and all that type of stuff. But as the journal entries continue into the future, I start talking to God, not spirit guides or the universe, but I start talking to Jesus. I want to read one of those. October 20th of 2023, at 10:23 p.m., I wrote, "Thank you, dear God. Thank you for everything you do for me and my family. Thank you for preserving my life and the life of everyone I love. And thank you for allowing me to be able to live comfortably and never having to worry about my basic needs and necessities. I am grateful that you continue to keep and guard me, my friends, and family." All of the entries that I write from this point are all dear God. Like, must stop with the spirit guide stuff, must stop with the manifesting stuff, and it's just dear God. October 27th, 2023 at 11:54 p.m. I wrote, "Dear God, tonight marks the beginning of my first fast dedicated to you as a symbol of my commitment to you." I'm writing a cursive, so sometimes me myself don't know what to say. "And an invitation to you to reside in my heart and in my life. I want to thank you for leading me to this place, and I want to ask you to continue to lead me on the path that would bring me directly to you. As I learn more about a walk with you, I learned that there are many attacks that can be sent to your servants to deter us from becoming ever closer to you and experiencing fully your power and your glory. I am ready to fight the wars that may come." Whew, girl. Anyway, these were some of my very first journal entries that I wrote to God. This was the first part of this journal when I was still doing the manifestation thing, intention, being deeply loved and adored by such person, having, I can't even read this, it's so embarrassing. But as I want to say, it's a manifestation list. First part of the book is manifestation, mysticism, divination. The last part of the book is Christianity and salvation. I start writing to God. That was kind of like my first way of getting to know him. I started writing, and then it's a bit of a blur, I must say. I believe that I moved around this time, and I can't remember when was my first job, when I start. But I got the papers, I got the work permit and all that type of stuff. And then I'm not going to tell you guys the title of the book because I don't want to encourage anyone to read that book, because it is demonic, but it masquerades as a book for Christians, and it is not. I started reading this book. The book was supposed to be about Jesus. However, all of what was written in the book was anti-biblical and anti-scriptural. It would say things like, "Oh, we have many lives after this one, so we don't have to worry about this life. We can do what we want in this life because we're gonna get several do-overs." It would talk about like a council in heaven, that when we die, we appear before the council and they give us instruction for us to come back to earth with. It would encourage like sensuality, like be naked in front of your children, show your children like how you be sexual and all of those things, which were just not scriptural in any way. So thank God for my mother, bro, because she was at that time like, she was like, she said, "This not nothing to do with the Bible, bro. Like, this is supposed to be a Christian book, but it's so different from everything that we have ever been taught out of the actual scriptures." And because of that, I took up the actual Bible. Like, that's what drove me to pick up the actual Bible. And so I picked up the Bible, bro. I went to a church in America for the first time in November. I forget what date it was, but I know that it was November of 2023. And as I was going to church, I was reading the Bible, I was learning. Something that really, really surprised me and I think was a catalyst on my spiritual journey was the act of prayer. Sometimes I would pray and it seemed like something else would just take over me. Like, I would pray and it would be so passionate. I mean, it would be so intense. I'm like, how can this be real? How can, like, I'm still new in the faith, I'm still trying to figure this out, but it seems like when I pray, something happens. So that was kind of like my introduction to the Holy Spirit, because the way how I was praying as a baby Christian, I'm like, there's something deeper here. There's something different. I feel like I maybe could have a place in the kingdom because prayer was something that I could do. It seemed like when I prayed, it's like I became a different version of myself, a more powerful version of myself. In any case, even though I was new in the faith, I was met with spiritual opposition immediately. As I'm telling you, spirit guide and divine, the one of them are demon, bro. And once you get on the path to truth, once you get on the path to Jesus Christ, those same spirits that were helping you before are going to start resisting you now. And so those few months of my early Christianity were marked by intense spiritual warfare. This is also a good time to tell you that witchcraft and sorcery and divination and idolatry have been present in my bloodline on both sides for generations and continue today. And so for you to come from that kind of background and decide to want to be a Christian, bro, you can be sure that there is going to be spiritual warfare. So I was going to a church, and even the people in the church didn't make any effort to help me. Like, at night, I mean, if people can vouch, like man like Warren can vouch. There's another particular friend that I had who can vouch, bro. I used to go to sleep, my bed would shake. I had to, for months, stop sleeping in my bedroom at the time because every time I went to sleep, my bed would shake. I would hear sounds, I would hear scraping on the walls. The dreams were horrific. Some of the worst warfare that I've experienced even to date were spiritual attacks that came in my dreams when I was asleep. And people would be feeding me things in my dreams. I would be in water in my dreams, which are all indications of witchcraft, and not just witchcraft, but marine witchcraft at that. In any case, I got baptized in December of 2023. And even so, like, I would go to the pastors, I would try to tell them, like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to fight this. Like, something very sinister is happening here. Like, even when I moved out of my room, I would go sit in the couch to sleep. The couch would shake. If I go lie down in another bed, the bed starts shake. My feet would tingle. Just the craziest things in the world. At the same time frame, like when I go outside, I would see like certain birds, like, and especially owls. And everywhere I go, it seemed like an owl would be there. Or when I'm going outside, like crows would start crying, or everywhere. I remember there was a particular type of bird that I would see everywhere as if the bird was following me. And I prayed to the Lord and I was like, Lord, what kind of bird is this? And I saw the bird, like a whole group of them. I saw them in my dream watching me. I would see owls in my dream attacking me, like trying to attack me with their claws, or they, it was just crazy, across the board crazy. And to this day, the spiritual warfare is crazy, but those months of warfare when I just became saved were uniquely intense. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. Anyway, we made it out because Jesus Christ is King. I get baptized. That's at December. I start my journey of Christianity. January, February, and March of 2024 were intense. But I want to give you some of what the Lord revealed to me in retrospect. So what I found was that, or what I was told, was that that period in Jamaica where I never have no money and never have nobody to take care of me was supposed to be much more devastating, you know, for the course of my entire life and destiny than it actually was. My mom reaching out and getting me out of Jamaica was actually God's intervention, because if I was left there, things would have been really bad. I've had that reiterated by other people of God who I have met, who have told me that this was the plan of the enemy for you to go down this path, for you to become this kind of person, for you to do this kind of thing. You understand me? In addition to that, a lot of the circumstances surrounding my young life were actually demonically engineered, were actually programmed by witchcraft. As I'm telling them, I come from a background where witchcraft and generationally there is the presence of witchcraft, and those things have an effect. I mean, if we're not spiritual people, we are not able to discern. But in retrospect, you know, as we grow in Christ, we're able to see the hand of the enemy. And so my coming to Christ was just a story of being rescued from myself, rescued from the enemy, rescued from evil power. And now today is 2 years later. It's the spiritual warfare hasn't gotten easier, but I feel like with the help of the Holy Spirit and fellowship with God, we get stronger, you know, we get more capable. You know, the more I commune with God, like there was a prayer line that I went to, and they were telling me, like, one of the first things, because there's a minister, I'm not gonna name him, but really powerful minister, really spiritual man, for lack of a better term, like really in tune with the Spirit of God. And one of the first things that he said to me when I met him was, I had to leave there at the time that you did. I am confident of that. I've had that reiterated so many times by so many different people. Things would have gone very left very quickly if I had not. In November of 2023, I decided I was going to be abstinent, because while I was in America, I started talking to this guy who was in Jamaica. And you know, we were gonna date and we're gonna make plans, but I stopped talking to him because I told him I'm not gonna have sex. I'm going to actually, you know, like try to do the whole Christian thing right. And of course, there's follow. People feel like, say, yeah, take Christianity too serious and blah blah blah. We're not really listening to them right now. And so I've just continued on that path. You know, the more you walk with God, the more He shows you, the more He grooms you, the more He, you know, teaches you what is what. And so a lot of people look at me, especially people who knew me before, and they can't understand really why the sudden change. They can't understand really why such a extreme transformation. But God literally saved my life. What else is there? You get what I'm saying? Like, what else is there other than to serve God with the life that He saved? That was who I used to be before I came to Christ. That was how God delivered me. Really? Oh, I forgot to tell you, say, in those early months, and I can't place it. I was trying to find it in this journal because this was one of my earliest journals. I can't place it. But there was, in that period where I felt God calling, I tried to strike a deal with God, and I wrote it out. And I'm so bummed that we can't find it, bro, because it would have been the funniest thing. But I wrote it out and I was like, Lord, okay, so let's do it this way. how about, come I know y'all call me now, I'm willing to come eventually, but how about for like the next 2 years or so, I be a stripper and make a lot of money, and then when I finish with that, I will come and serve you. I wrote that out, and cause this book is about, you can detach the, and in my room, I had a wooden chair that I said was my altar, and I would just put like different things I would write, like I would write letters to God and put it on the altar, or I would put things that really needed attention. Like I remember that time I was trying to get into school and everything. So if the school would send me a letter, I would put it on the altar and things like that. No, not outlandish. It was just at like a point of contact, between me and God. Not actually, I just let me tell myself. And I think what I did was I took that note out of the book and put it on the altar. And obviously the Lord was not going to let me be a stripper for 2 years before coming to serve him. So I think I ended up just destroying that note. But anyway, I tried to like strike a deal with God. I was like, okay, so let me finish up my life, my slack life. And then when I finish up, I will get back with you. That was a path that I was heading down. I have to keep it G with you. That was a path that I was heading down, like trying to monetize my sexuality. Because I think that's a very diplomatic way of saying I, was going to use sex appeal to make a living. Say it that way. There were a lot of things that I was at risk for, and that was the time that the Lord came in. I do mean everything bad. I wanted to do everything bad. Everything bad was a part of my plan. Since me realized that God really did a look out for me ever since. Like I can't tell you guys, there was another time I came home so drunk and I fell asleep, and when I woke up I realized that I vomited in my sleep. Them always tell yourself to lie down drunk people a certain way, because if them vomit while them drunk, them can choke and dead and all that type of stuff. But I choked in my sleep, didn't die, obviously. There was another time I was in Ocho Rios, I was on a boat that flipped over, still didn't die. There were just so many opportunities for me to die and I didn't die. And I realized one time I drank bleach, didn't die when I was young. Another time I was choking on candy. Somebody come and help me, didn't die. Like there were so many. I think for me, I have a sense of being indebted to God because I know that He has saved my life on several occasions. Even from that man who tell me say him would have killed me. And Jamaica is a place where man will really kill you, man. It's not a prank. Like from a man fight you, bro, him would have kill you. It's just simple as that. From a man willing to fight you, him would have kill you. And the man tell me say him would have kill me. And I feel like even that, like there's so many factors. I feel like there's so many things and so many plans of the devil that I escaped when I left Jamaica. And I am going to return to Jamaica to live there at some point. It may be sooner, it may be later, but at some point, of course, we go in the name of the Lord, and all of them things that we did want hurt you one time, them can't go hurt you again. So it's not that Jamaica is a place that I can't go back or won't go back, but at that time, it was a place that I needed to leave because I was surrounded by overwhelming darkness, and the devil almost had me, but not quite. And so that is my story. That is how I came to Christ. Simply a story of being rescued. I just walk with God from that time. So I wanted to share that story. I didn't want to share that because I just think it commemorates my very first pursuit of Jesus Christ. I just want to give God the glory publicly. I've talked about my testimony. I've talked about some of the way that I used to be, but never in detail. My salvation in of itself is a miracle. If you wanna understand, like kind of like the generation of people I come from, and the kind of Satanism and idolatry that has been in my family on an ancestral level. So the fact that I'm a Christian in of itself, it is miraculous. I just want to give God the glory in a very open and public way. Say Jesus saved my life, and that's why I'm serving Him. I'm sorry to all of the people there. I'm not coming up off Jesus. No, granted, but do a heap of things wrong all the time. But I found a certain, like, I have to be honest with you guys, as early as this month, I had a lot of struggles, like long suffering, it's there. Persecution, it's there. Spiritual warfare, it's there. Pain, it's there. Like it's hard. I'm not tell nobody say Christianity is a bed of rose. If I'm telling you that, bro, that's gonna strike me. But I have found a sense of belonging in Christ that I've never found elsewhere. Even this month, when I make my little mistake, I'm having like a relapse, and coming back to Christ and just bawling to Him like, Lord, I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, but I'm ready. Like, we'll get back to the way that we used to be. And after that, I just felt so at home. I've never felt at home anywhere else in this world. But in Christ, as hard as it is, just can't let go. Like, it don't make no sense. Like, going back out is like smoking feel good, it's like being high feel good. And there's a part of me that still wants to do it sometimes, and there's a part of me that still wants to do everything bad sometimes. But you sincerely, because all of them look for something, like all of it just a look for something, bro. And it's only in Christ. Like as much as things are hard and whatever the case may be, we're just not willing to be outside of Christ. Like it is sorrowful. It it like I remember for the brief time that I was out for the first time since I've been saved, and all I felt was anguish. Like what I was doing, it felt good, of course, but it not feel good like how it used to feel good, bro. Like when you come to Christ, you know too much. It's not gonna feel the same. I just felt sad. I just felt like I wanted to go home. So Christ, I'm a home, bro, and I me I deal with. Guys, I'm very happy that Vlogtober is over, and I'm very happy that this is my final Vlogtober video. And I am going to film one last video to tell you guys where my channel will be going after Vlogtober, but that's not going to be this video, obviously. So thank you for watching. This is pretty long, and if you make it through, you're a personal encounter with Jesus Christ, and for your life to be forever changed. But thank you so much. Like, thank you so much to the people that might watch not just this video, but who have been keeping up with me throughout Vlogtober. Thank you so much, and me see you now soon. Bye.